All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of In the Round with Andrew Taylor and Lee. How's everyone doing out there? We hope you're doing well. It's been a few weeks since we've been on air, but we're back and we've got all kinds of good stuff for you. And today is Father's Day, so I just want to say happy Father's Day to everybody out there, to all the dads, single fathers, all that kind of good stuff. So, and also say happy Father's Day to my dad, who's sitting across from me and co-hosts the show with me. Happy Father's Day.
I'm not your father.
Yeah. And we have a special guest waiting in the wings for us here. We're going to bring him on here right during the monologue, right in the beginning of the show. So let's bring him on. Go ahead.
Hey, y'all.
Is that my brother David out of Winter Haven, Florida?
It's the Gator Man himself.
Gator!
What's going on, man?
What's happening, guys? I'm just calling in. I wanted to touch base and wish my dad a happy Father's Day and all the dads out there, all my buddies and family and everybody else who's got kids, man. Happy Father's Day.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
All right. Yeah, we thought he'd have him come in and give you a little Father's Day surprise. So.
Are you drinking yet?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Ron's passed out on the couch right now. To wake up. We're drinking. We're having a good time. Barbecuing some wings and swimming in the pool.
Right on, man.
Right on. Joyous day. Say hi to everybody for me.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. So what have you guys got planned for this Father's Day?
We are hanging out doing this show, but today's kind of a weird subject, too. We're going to get a little dark. It's going to be about serial killers.
We like to bring the tone down a little bit here.
Well, Daddy didn't love me.
Yeah.
That's kind of where we're going with this. This is all about my dad,
Things are going to get a little dark, folks.
My dad, No, Daddy, no. But afterwards, guess where we're going?
What's that?
Guess where we're going afterwards?
In-N-Out.
No, sir. We're going to the Sizzler.
Oh, man. Almost as much as In-N-Out. It's a little far from me.
Gotcha.
Hey, but guess what we're getting? We're getting a Del Taco.
Hey, so are we.
Nice.
Yeah, they're building a Del Taco about 20 miles from my work. So it's the closest one I'm going to get, but hey, I'm happy to have it.
Good
What else
deals.
is new? So you guys are talking about serial killers today, huh?
Yeah.
To relate yourself to a serial killer, who would it be?
Oh, geez. I don't even want to get into that. That's a fine line.
I would be the crummy moronic type of serial killer. Get caught on his first kill. Didn't even kill anybody. Got caught breaking in.
I'm more of a Dexter type serial killer, if you ask myself.
He only kills the good or the bad guys.
And it's no other reason than just the fact that I live close to Miami. That's the only reason.
And you have a boat.
Yeah, that was the guy that just killed the bad guys. It's like, okay, I guess he's all right. Everybody can eat with him and everything. They're like, he's good. He's just killing the bad guys. He's like,
so
Jesus.
much for believing in the justice system, Dexter. Why'd you become a cop?
Yeah, no kidding. I never got that. People are like, they find out what he was, and they're like, oh, he's just killing the bad people. He's like, no, this guy's a freak, man. Shoot this dude.
Well, right on. Like I said, I just wanted to call and say Happy Father's Day and kind of do a little sneak in there.
Yeah.
I hope you guys have a good show, man. I miss you guys. I'll be coming out there soon.
Cool.
Yeah, we're waiting for you.
Expect another one from the Florida Man.
Yeah,
Hey,
you'll have
we're
to
waiting
come
for
in.
you.
You'll have to come in studio. I'll have Florida Man in studio.
Yeah, we'll put Taryn on, too.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'll bring us some gator. Them is good eating.
Cool.
Hey, you like fried alligator.
Don't lose any fingers out there.
Damn gator bit my finger off.
You guys have a good show, man. I miss you guys. I love you, and I'll talk to you later.
Love you.
All
Bye.
right, man.
Be safe.
Take care. Well, that was interesting.
Oh, very cool.
Awesome.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Got a call from David.
Not very
That was
often
great.
do we get callers on this show like that, just out of the
Just
blue.
the ones
so.
going, would you please shut this thing
Yeah,
off?
yeah, that and the lawyers. So, all right, folks.
Andy, it's the bank.
Yeah, let's get right into it here for numerous reasons. Let's get right into it here. Our first story of the day, headline reads, Michigan man's $500,000 lottery ticket nearly ended up in the trash. So this was on June 18th. A Michigan man said the scratch-off lottery ticket that earned him a $500,000 jackpot nearly ended up in the trash when he misread it as a losing ticket.
Oh, geez.
So he's 74-year-old Grand Rapids man told Michigan lottery officials he bought a few of the $500,000 jumbo cash tickets from a gas station in Grand Rapids, and they nearly all ended up in the trash before he realized he had missed an important detail. And he's quoted by saying, I like to play the new instant games each month, so I bought a few of the $500,000 jumbo cash tickets. I scratched the ticket off and thought it was a loser. So I looked it over one more time before throwing it away and realized I had matched a 7. When I realized the amount, I thought, this can't be. This kind of luck never happens to me.
Good for him.
So the man discovered he won the $500,000 top prize, and he said he couldn't believe it, and the feeling still hasn't sunk in.
That'd be fun, man. What a kick.
That's awesome.
What a kick. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to know something about, I don't play the lottery a whole lot, as you know.
Yeah.
But when it gets up to like a lot of money, like when it's like hundreds of millions of dollars, I think I have a breakover point of like 250 or 300 million.
Well, you just have to.
Well, I just go, you know what? I'm gonna go pry a buck out of my wallet and buy
Exactly,
one.
yeah.
But you know what? I never check them because I wait till the news comes out and they say winning tickets sold to a Peoria man. If it doesn't say Scottsdale guy, I'm like,
I know
fuck,
it's not
didn't
me.
win.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's
so
a good
I ended up
reasoning.
with a bunch of and one day I took like 10 of them to the Circle K, and one of them actually was worth like $5.
Yeah.
So I never win anything like that, man.
Well, moving right along here. Here's another. This is a really weird story, and this is out of New Hampshire. So, headline reads: Bear caught on camera breaking into New Hampshire car. So, June 18th, another June 18th day. A New Hampshire homeowner's security camera recorded the moment a bear wandered up to a car parked in the driveway and opened the door and sat inside the vehicle. The footage recorded outside a home in Thornton shows the bear opening the car door and going inside for an apparent search for food. The police department said there have been multiple reports in recent days of bears opening the doors of parked cars and rummaging around inside for food and trash. They can smell that stuff. So.
Not only that, they adapt, man. I saw this show on bears that, there's a lot of the
smart.
national forests or parks or whatever are being overrun by them. I think it's California, Michigan.
Yeah.
They're trying to institute a bear hunt, but they were saying that these bears are like super intelligent, man.
Yeah.
I mean, they can figure stuff out.
They adapt.
Hey, they remember.
Yeah, exactly. So they put out a post saying, please remember to remove food items from your vehicles and don't leave trash bags outside, obviously. Especially in the bed of your truck or something like that. You're just asking for trouble.
Yeah, I can see where that would be a bear of a problem.
Now this is this is going back to my hometown or my home state, Nevada. Headline reads, this happened on June 16th, by the way. Nevada firefighters rescue trapped teen from home's chimney. And this happened out in Henderson. So the Henderson Fire Department.
That makes sense.
Yeah, Henderscum. Yeah, no wonder. If you're from Las Vegas, you know what I mean.
What do they call it? Kentucky?
Hendertucky.
Hendertucky, that's what it is.
June
yeah.
16th, firefighters in Nevada conducted an unusual rescue when a teenager who found herself locked out of her home tried to climb
Jesus.
down through the chimney and became stuck. Yeah, they don't go straight down, so
Well, what does
there's
she
usually
think?
there's usually things inside of the chimney, different, the way they flow.
Not only that, it's why would. What'd she think? She was Santa Claus or something?
Yeah. The Henderson Fire Department said that the 18-year-old found herself, stuck in the chimney, and she got stuck just above the flume. So the flue, it says flue, but it should be flume.
She was way down because that's pretty close to the ground level.
Oh, yeah, she almost made it. So using a rope system, they pulled the teenager back through the top. It took about a half hour to get her out. So I'm sure her parents were thrilled.
Oh, I'm dead.
Yeah, great.
I don't know, man. It's like, if you're going to be this dumb, man.
We've had some of those stories on here before of like rescue stories like that. And it's always interesting to see what happens. I mean, thankfully nobody gets hurt and everybody always gets out. It's always a good story. But there's ones that aren't.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wonder how many people every year in the world
that die from something like that. A lot. It's a lot.
I bet there's actually statistics
that are
for
actual accidents. Like man,
just people doing stupid stuff. My wife wouldn't let me in the house, so I climbed in and then she lit the fireplace.
Yeah, who'd have thought? We always have this next story. We always have a lot of similar stories on the show that are related to this as well. And the headline reads, "Message in a bottle floats from Rhode Island to Portugal."
Jeez, that's a long way.
Oh, yeah. So June 16th, a 17-year-old spearfishing in Portugal's Azores ended up with an unexpected catch. A message in a bottle launched from Rhode Island in 2018. So that's crazy. It didn't get submerged and all that.
That's neat, because if it actually did that, if it actually went from Rhode Island to Portugal, that's across the entire ocean.
So Christian Santos, 17 years old, whose family moved from Boston to Portugal when he was 5 years old, said he was fishing near the island of São Jorge when he came across a sports drink bottle containing an index card. I'm stumbling today, man. The card's message, written in orange marker, reads, "It is Thanksgiving. I am 13 and visiting my family in Rhode Island. I am from Vermont." That's pretty crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's seen the story.
So the message also included an email address and a request for the finder to send a message.
Oh.
The teenager showed the message to his mother, Molly Santos, who told him it had originated near his place of birth. What are the chances someone from Portugal who can actually read English finding that and understanding what it says?
Well, they're pretty good because it happened, man.
Exactly, yeah. So Molly Santos posted a photo of the message on Facebook, and she wrote that she attempted to send emails to the provided address but had not received a response. So
that's
pretty
crazy.
crazy. Yeah,
that's really cool, though. That's a really cool story.
They would be about the same age today, the sender and the receiver.
And it's weird that he was from Boston and it came from Vermont and all that, because they're not too far away from each other. Yeah,
very weird.
Yeah, that's really cool. And we got a little Portuguese in us.
You want to hear another cool story? And this is something you always see on Antiques Roadshow. And this is going to be one of our last. We have two more stories up, but this will be one of the last ones here. And the headline reads, "Painting bought for $4 at a thrift shop identified as a David Bowie original."
So David Bowie did some painting in his life. So I didn't know that.
On June 15th, a painting purchased for less than $5 at a Canadian thrift store is now up for auction after the artist was identified as music legend David Bowie. Auctioneer Cowley Abbott said that the painting was purchased for $4.09 from a donation center for household goods in South River, Ontario, and was discovered to have been a painting done by Bowie in 1997. The auction house said the painting, titled D Head, literally titled D Head.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds like something Bowie would do.
Yeah, is part of a series the singer created between 1994 and 1997. So that's pretty crazy.
So
man.
Do they have any kind of value on it?
They're saying that the painting is being sold as part of Cowley Abbott's International Art Online Auction and is expected to fetch a high bid of $9,000 to $12,000.
Oh, well, okay, so that's not crazy money.
Yeah, but for a $4 investment,
no, that's awesome. I mean,
especially if you weren't like a David Bowie fan, it really didn't mean anything to you.
Oh, yeah,
whatever,
absolutely. I mean, think about this: he ain't painting no more.
Oh yeah, yep.
David Bowie passed on a few years ago, and
a gentleman that I work with. Here making podcast and all that kind of stuff, radio and all that. He got to run the live sound on one of the last performances of David Bowie at a private event.
Oh, no kidding! Yeah, somebody hired him to play.
Yeah, and I can't go too much into detail because he had signed some stuff, but he got to work with them, and he did say it was kind of noticeable.
Oh yeah, he'd been sick for a while.
Yeah.
So. A lot of those musicians are getting into the painting. Paul Stanley from Kiss, John Mellencamp, David Lee Roth. They're all, and I'm sure there's more.
So here's our last story, and me and you have talked about this quite a bit since the news was announced. This is upcoming movie news, and we always we touch on a lot of pop culture stuff on our show and a lot of things. I love the Munsters. I'm a big Munsters fan. I know you love the Munsters. You're
absolutely.
A fan.
I've been a fan forever, man.
So this headline reads, Rob Zombie to direct a movie based on the Munsters. And he's quoted saying, "My next film project will be the one I've been chasing for more than 20 years. So Rob Zombie has announced that he will be helming a reboot of The Munsters as his next film project. The rocker/filmmaker took to his Instagram account to announce the news last Monday. And, he had hits, all kinds of hits back in the day. He's a shock rocker kind of guy and all that.
White Zombie.
Yeah, he's awesome, yeah.
Rob Zombie himself, and then he's done
some great movie work and all that.
The first couple of movies he did were very gory and very violent, very dark, but they were watchable.
So that makes you wonder what he's going to do with the 60s sitcom, The Munsters. I hope they keep it in very campy like it,
I was watching a video about that, and they were saying that I can't see him taking that franchise in the direction of like the House of a Thousand Corpses or something. You know? I got to think that he's got to stick to it's based on the sitcom.
Exactly.
So I hope that I got a lot of
and he's using the old school logo for it too, so that's very cool. That gives me a lot of hope.
I think he's like we were talked about the other day. I hope he does it in the style of the television series. I hope it's in black and white.
Well, and even then, I don't care if he goes to color.
I think it would be cool to be in black and white.
Yeah, but it takes away from it too. I mean, it's going to be weird. And today's standards, a lot of people aren't going to be.
Though, Andy, like a lot of movies can stand on like that show on like that one and the Addams Family. It stands on its own in black and white, man.
Well, because it's old.
Yeah, and it gives it that kind of.
And today's standards with today's stuff going on, they're not going to do that. I don't think they will, but.
Well,
I don't see the studio doing that, but it's also being released to Peacock, and it's not really going to be in theaters and stuff. So as far as we know,
we don't know what kind of budget they're putting behind it.
Yeah,
so it's. I could see, I'm sure he's going to have his wife in it somewhere.
It's all going to depend on the cast too. So.
Yeah. I told you who I'd cast for Herman Munster, and the guy's name is Javier Bardem or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He's the crazy guy from No Country for Old Men, and then he was a Bond villain in Skyfall.
Yeah.
So I think he's a Spanish actor. I think he would be great as Herman Munster, man.
So that was the last story of the news segment, or, our monologue, whatever you want to call it. But, it's great to be back, folks. And we will be right back with you here in just a few minutes after this musical break. Stay tuned. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to get right into Just the Facts segment here. And today's Just the Facts segment is all about Father's Day and father-related facts. So, number one, this is from Mental Floss, by the way. We pulled these articles for that. Not always from Mental Floss, but today it is.
Today they are. Yes. Give Mental Floss the credit. Their credit is due.
So, number one, Halsey Taylor invented the drinking fountain in 1912 as a tribute to his father, who succumbed to typhoid fever after drinking from a contaminated public water supply in 1896.
Jeez.
Talking about doing some good in a bad situation, in a bad deal.
And that was
Halsey Taylor.
Halsey Taylor.
Yep.
And they created the first drinking fountain, like a public drinking fountain.
1912.
Nice.
As a tribute to his dad.
I had a friend that had a drinking fountain in his house growing up.
That's pretty cool.
It was the neatest thing ever, man.
Just runs like a little...
He had it hooked to his refrigerator, and he had the coils inside the refrigerator so the water was cold, but it was just a little...
That's cool.
A little drinking fountain, you know?
That's
you remember
cool.
the drinking fountains you had to drink out of a school?
Yeah.
You had to get
ceramic white ones.
Had to kiss them.
Yeah. Yeah, they barely came out. I was like, what the hell is this?
The best.
If you could go around and find a good one that actually
You know what? You don't get to use the drinking fountains anymore. They're all shut off.
Yeah.
You know? And
I like what Scottsdale does in the parks where they have the bottle refillers. It's a drinking fountain, but you put your bottle in.
And they have the doggy one. You ever see that down there on the bottom? They have the doggy one.
You just press the foot pedal on it.
Yeah, and the dog can drink. It's Scottsdale, a very dog-friendly town.
Pet-friendly, absolutely. Yeah. So number two, George Washington, the celebrated father of our country, had no children of his own. And a 2004 study suggested that the type of tuberculosis that Washington contracted in childhood may have rendered him sterile. He did adopt 2 children from Martha Custis' first marriage, though.
Oh, okay.
So those were his children.
Yeah, so she was,
adoptive.
You know what? Back in those days, I mean, people didn't,
and healthcare wasn't where it was now.
A lot of people just died, you know?
Yeah,
it was just like, hey, he got the whooping cough and died, so... It's one of those
The
things.
healthcare wasn't where it is today.
The technology
Absolutely.
wasn't there. Yeah,
Absolutely.
So it was,
Number 3, in Thailand, the king's birthday also serves as National Father's Day. Celebration includes fireworks, speeches, acts of charity and honor, the most distinct being the donation of blood and the liberation of captive animals.
oh, nice.
And that's in Thailand.
That's a pretty nice place that they do over
That's
there
a cool
in Thailand.
thing, yeah. And moving along to the next one here, number 4. In 1950, after a Washington Post music critic gave Harry Truman's daughter, Margaret, her concert a negative review, the president came out swinging and is quoted saying, "Someday I hope to meet you. And when that happens, you'll need a new nose, a lot of beefsteak for black eyes, and perhaps a supporter below."
Wow.
Yeah, right?
Damn.
Dang.
It's kind of like he was talking shit
Truman
before
wasn't-
Donald Trump was.
Right? He wasn't messing around.
Donald
I'm
Trump
gonna
never
clean your-
threatened it to me.
It's the old guy talk. I'll clean your fucking
There was
clock.
actually one president, I don't remember who it was. There is one that was actually killed in office during a duel.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah. You imagine that if you got into an argument with
Some
somebody in a
crazy
bar.
shit.
and
We're
you're
going to
like,
go have a duel
let's
right
go
now.
outside and have a duel.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh.
That's how men settled things
That's
back
how
in the
they
day.
settle them back in the day.
We will be right back with you here in just a few minutes after this musical break. Stay tuned.
A wandering band of members of a so-called religious cult with a leader they call Jesus has had 3 of its followers arrested in the investigation of the murder of Sharon Tate and 6 others. Those arrested are 2 women and 1 man, and the Los Angeles police said they would ask murder indictments against several others. 5 women are being held as material witnesses. In Los Angeles, a killer the police are calling the Hillside Strangler has murdered 10 young women and left their bodies on the hillsides along the highways. Today, the police found another, number 11, they think.
2 young paper boys discovered what appeared to be the latest victim. The body had been dumped 15 feet down an embankment in a residential neighborhood. The victim was a woman, about 20 years old, and the body was nude.
The series of murders has had a chilling effect upon the people of the city.
In Los Angeles, more women than ever before are learning how to defend themselves. Susan Ball skipped night school for a week. She says she can't sleep because of the murders.
I guess I just want to learn how to maybe give myself a few seconds so I can live.
Search goes on in San Francisco for the man known as the Zodiac Killer. The elements involved today included psychiatrists, astrologists, and police guards for school buses. Terry Drinkwater reports.
School children are nice targets. I shall wipe out a school bus some morning, shoot out the tires, and then pick off the kiddies as they come bounding out. That was the threat of the Zodiac Killer.
36-year-old John Wayne Gacy has pleaded not guilty to charges of murdering 7 boys and young men, and a judge in Chicago has ordered that Gacy be examined by a psychiatrist. 27 bodies have been uncovered at Gacy's suburban Chicago home, and the defendant's lawyer says his trial should be held somewhere else. More on that from Bob Farr.
Police won't confirm a newspaper report that Dahmer has confessed to murder and cannibalism. One longtime acquaintance describes Dahmer as one weird dude. A neighbor offered a similar description.
In my opinion, he appeared to me to be a geek. As Richard Ramirez is led to prison on that November day, he has one final comment for the media.
Big deal. That's always went with the territories. I'll see you in Disneyland.
Officials in Los Angeles are offering a $10,000 reward for information leading to the capture of the so-called Night Stalker. He's the sadistic killer wanted for a series of murders and rapes.
Theodore Robert Bundy, you are charged, indictment, 2 counts burglary, 2 counts murder in the first degree, 3 counts attempted murder in the first degree. Design or intent to effect the death of said Lisa Levy.
My chance to talk to the press.
Contrary to section 78204 Florida statute.
I'll plead not guilty right now.
And your grand jury is being...
Floyd Calber, the news of the arrest of suspect David Berkowitz.
Jane, the man's name is David Berkowitz. He is an unmarried 24-year-old postal worker. He's a veteran of Korean service with the United States Army. When he was arrested late last night in his apartment in Yonkers, New York, he told the officers, "Okay, you've got me." David Berkowitz is expected to be booked, as Jane mentioned, in Brooklyn this morning and formally accused of committing at least one of 6 murders in the New York area in just the past year. Specifically, they expect him to be booked for the murder of 20-year-old Stacy Moskowitz on July the 31st. In the end, a parking ticket proved to be the undoing for Berkowitz.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to get to a little bit of a dark subject here, and it's, as you could tell, it's about infamous serial killers, some of history's most infamous serial killers, and some of the really, really bad stuff they did.
Some of the bad hombres.
Yes, so let's get right into it, man, because we don't have a whole lot of time and we got a lot of ground to cover. Number 1. And I remember this guy, remember this story, but I don't really remember it that well. So I was kind of surprised to see it come up again. Number 1, Harold Shipman, Dr. Death, who killed 218 patients.
Yeah, he was a bad one.
Yeah, do you remember this guy?
I've heard of him, yeah.
Yeah, so one of history's deadliest serial killers was a married family man. He squeezed in 218 credited murders, and they think as many as 250 total.
Jesus.
So yeah, this is a problem too. You know, British physician Harold Shipman began his murderous spree in 1972. It's believed he killed at least 71 people working at his first practice and doubled that number at the second practice he joined after butting heads with colleagues. You know, they said he was kind of arrogant and overconfident, stuff like that, which most of these guys kind of are in a way.
Yeah, you never see a serial killer with low self-esteem.
Well, especially when they're getting away with, like, that amount of shit like that. That's a lot.
I wonder what...
And no one batted an eye at this guy.
Yeah, and being in the medical profession, which some of them are, you know.
Oh, a lot, yeah.
There's a lot of deadly nurses and stuff out there that it's kind of why they get into
stuff,
it. Man.
Yeah. So in 98, both a local undertaker and another doctor noticed an unusually high number of cremation certificates that Shipman had signed off on. They also noticed a lot of similarities in recently deceased patients themselves. The majority were elderly women who were found sitting up and fully clothed, not in bed, and as would usually be the case with the gravely ill.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Talk about a macabre dude, man.
Oh, man, pretty crazy. So, despite all the glaring evidence.
Yeah, oh, you know what? Sometimes hiding in plain sight.
It really
exists.
Yeah. It really does exist.
You know, the people didn't. He was a doctor, and like I said, he probably wasn't really well liked, so people probably avoided him.
Didn't think out of the ordinary of him. Just thought, hey, like you just said, hiding in plain sight. The guy's a married man, family man, more than likely.
Oh yeah.
You know, then that's the MO for a lot of this stuff.
Some of them.
See, this is kind of weird for us to be doing this kind of show. We don't really touch on this stuff, but for people that don't really know Lee outside of the show. Back in the day, more so, you used to read a lot of serial killer books and stuff like that.
I've had them on my mind for a long time.
So you kind of know the psychology of it and stuff.
Yeah, a little bit. You know, I grew up in an era of a couple different serial killers.
Yeah, some major ones that we'll definitely touch on. And I'm sure you heard in that production audio that you heard before we came back from break, all that scary shit.
Oh, yeah. I remember some of it. I remember being a little kid and when the Hillside Strangler they thought it was one guy at the time. You know, it ended up being a couple guys, but that was on the news prevalently, and then we had the Night Stalker kid I was a teenager when that happened.
Yeah, so which we'll definitely jump into. But despite the glaring evidence, initial investigation was pretty much botched, and Shipman was allowed to kill 3 more times afterwards. Basically, is what they think. So his luck ran out later that year in '98. When the daughter of his final victim, lawyer Kathleen Grundy, claimed he'd not only killed her mother, but also tried to create a new fake will naming him as the sole beneficiary.
Oh, he got greedy.
Started to get greedy, man.
He got greedy.
Yeah, so unlike the earlier victims, Grundy had not been cremated, and an autopsy revealed lethally high levels of diamorphine, the drug Shipman used for most of his killings.
Okay, kill him while then burned all the evidence and all. Oh, okay, yeah.
So he's formally charged with 15 murders total and was convicted and sentenced to life without parole in 2000. Shipman died in 2004 after committing suicide in his jail cell.
Oh, yeah.
And he never once admitted to any of the killings.
Oh, no. So he took it all to the grave with him.
Pretty crazy, huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so... Number 2, this is going to be kind of an older one. This is going way back to the 1800s here.
Oh, Jesus.
And I'd never heard of this lady before. So, Belle Gunness. And it basically says she married to kill.
Yeah, she's a black widow.
Yeah, she claimed she killed up to 15 men for their insurance.
Good for her.
So, yeah, right. I'm sure some ladies out there agree they're listening to the show.
You go, girl.
Yeah.
So, you ain't all that in a bag of potato chips.
We got to throw some humor in here on some of this.
Oh, but this wasn't last week.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not in our lifetime, so we could joke about it.
It wasn't in England, wasn't it?
The woman who became known as Lady Bluebeard immigrated to America from Norway in 1881, settling in Chicago, where she married a fellow Norwegian immigrant. The couple had 4 children, 2 of who died young, and ran a candy store. Kind of a weird backstory for this.
Well, that brings up the question of what's that, Munchausen? Proxy by Munchausen?
Yeah.
That where the women kill their kids to get the attention, the grief. That's a real deal, man.
Oh, yeah. So by 1900, the store had mysteriously burned down, and Gunness' husband was dead. Although both happened under suspicious circumstances, Gunness was able to collect multiple insurance policy payouts, allowing her to purchase a farm in LaPorte, Indiana. So she quickly remarried. Just 8 months later, her second husband died. Yeah, very strange here.
Seems to be a pattern here.
Mm-hmm. Even back in these days, I'd like to think the police were a little,
they didn't know anything back then. Before DNA stuff, they were like, I don't know.
Gunness claimed that he had received a fatal burn from scalding water and had been hit on the head by a heavy meat grinder.
Jesus.
Okay, how do those two even line up?
Yeah,
first off,
he got burnt and then you ran into a meat grinder. Back in those days, if they didn't catch you actually committing a crime in like red-handed,
you could say whatever happened.
Even the bank robbers back then would tell the people when they were robbing the bank, hey, tell them it was Smoking Joe in the Snuggets
This is who did this, yeah. Good luck finding us.
It's like they get dressed up and stuff.
It was like a flaunting kind of thing, yeah. But while an inquest was held, no proof of foul play could be produced, leading to another hefty insurance payout for her. She began placing newspaper ads in search of a third husband.
Good job.
Yeah, okay, kind of crazy. Guys,
I'd
beware.
like to see your CR first, or your CV. What happened to the last 2?
Exactly. With the requirement of potential suitors had to visit her Indiana farm. Definitely a red flag.
Yeah, damn Potter's Field is what it is. Body farm.
Exactly. So several prospective suitors made the trek only to disappear forever.
Yeah, I bet.
Just one made it out alive after reportedly waking up to see a sinister-looking Gunness standing over him. A sinister-looking kid's coming to get me.
Yeah, there ain't no tale in the world that's worth that, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't care how good it is. Yeah,
I don't care if the rocks move and the stars line up. And
a panther piss, whatever.
Yeah, whatever you got going on down there isn't worth this, man.
Nobody knows for certain how many people she actually murdered, but she ended up meeting a grisly end as well. So in February 1908, a fire devastated the farm, and among the wreckage, the bodies of Gunness' remaining children and the decapitated corpse of a woman. Although officials identified the remains as Gunness, doubt quickly spread as the body was much smaller than the tall, heavy-set Gunness.
Who cut her head off?
That's the thing,
I need closure on this stuff,
The search for her missing head, which never turned up, led to the gruesome discovery of almost a dozen bodies, including the missing suitors and several children.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it sounded like she was just killing people.
Yeah, she was a devil.
Yeah, so This number 3, the next one, this is pretty crazy.
That was Lady Bluebeard, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking to her.
Yeah, right? The next one here, everyone's heard of this guy. He was a huge
is it one of our favorites?
Inspiration for a lot of different horror stuff. Ed Gein, the inspiration behind Psycho.
He was also the inspiration for Leatherface, and he was the inspiration for Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, too. That's funny. The man whose macabre and horrific acts helped inspire Psycho, Silence of the Lambs, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre grew up. Yeah, how fucked up did your past have to be to inspire those movies, right? Jeez.
You know that movie, Silence of the Lambs? That was about my uncle.
Yeah, like what? Or Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's my extended family. What?
I love those movies,
Chop
man.
Top and all this.
I love them, man.
Anyways, he grew up in an isolated area of Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
He was an abused child of an alcoholic father and puritanical and domineering mother. So she's, super religious and stuff, and all that.
Most of them are.
Instilled her son a pathological fear of both women and sex into Ed, So when his father, brother, and mother died within a 5-year period, he was left alone at the family farm where he eventually cornered off parts of the house and turning it into a shrine of sorts to his mom,
Oh, yeah, he had all kinds of skin. He was covering the lamps and the shades in skin. I've seen pictures of it.
Doing some crazy stuff.
Yeah, he's very famous. Man.
Yeah. So 13 years later, local police arrived at the farm following up on a tip regarding missing hardware stoner Bernice Warden.
Oh, Jesus.
They discovered Warden's headless corpse hanging upside down from the rafters.
Jeez.
Yeah, right? Well, imagine even back then, rolling up on that shit. It had to be crazy.
The world was the country
way different
especially
time.
Was a different place.
Way different.
This guy would have been looked at as being a spawn
Straight
of the devil.
Yeah. That's evil himself.
There'd been no big one. Well, he's got these psychological... They're like, no, this guy is pure evil. Kill him.
This guy is nuts. Yeah. So they discovered the body upside down hanging from the rafters. Their search of the property revealed a hall of horrors that included human body parts that were turned into household items. Chairs, bowls, faces used as wall hangings, a vest made up of a human torso.
Jesus.
Yeah, right? This is just crazy, dude.
He's going to make a Joe Dirt suit out
of dude. Many of these gruesome items were from already dead bodies that Gein had stolen from their graves.
Yeah, I was going to say, he was a grave robber, too.
Yeah.
I remember reading about that.
He had murdered one other woman in addition to Warden, and he had claimed that he was using the body parts to assemble a new version of his beloved mother.
Yeah, well,
Gein was diagnosed with schizophrenia and declared unfit for trial. A decade later, he was convicted for one of the murders and declared insane at the time of the crime. He spent the rest of his life in a mental hospital.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Man, I'll tell you, what do you do, man?
Now number 4, be good. Raise your kids right. Raise your kids.
We keep an eye on them, man.
Yeah, man. So number 4, this guy was a complete psycho, and there was a lot of situations in this man's story and the way it went down and how many murders he committed, where I think there's a lot of people definitely screwed the pooch in busting this guy. John Wayne Gacy. He performed as a clown at children's parties, obviously. Everyone knows that. He was charged with committing 33 murders and later executed by lethal injection.
Mm-hmm. I remember when they killed him.
Most people know who Gacy is.
Yep.
Suburban Chicago area. Just a normal guy, owned a bunch of businesses.
Is he the one that spent some time in Vegas, worked for Paul Mortuary in Vegas, too, for a little while, didn't he?
He might have.
I believe
John
he did.
Wayne Gacy was a normal neighborhood guy, volunteered Democratic politics. He was a lifelong Democrat. This is what it says here. I'm not just throwing that in there.
It's okay.
Often for just my guys might want to write that down.
if you vote to the left there, you might be voting for a serial killer. Just saying.
And he's often performed as a clown at local children's parties.
It is freaking creepy
when you see that.
You see the
whole
there's
footage
situation.
Of it, yeah.
And his memorabilia now, his artwork and stuff is bringing a shitload of money.
Gacy, who had already served a stint in prison for sexually assaulting a teenage boy.
Oh yeah, he was
and
gay.
Was hiding a horrific secret right beneath, his fucking floorboards of his house.
And he was like a contractor. And he would bring kids over to interview him for jobs and he'd kill them.
Oh yeah.
He also ran a bunch of KFCs, if I remember correctly.
So in 1978, a 15-year-old boy who had last been seen with Gacy, whose construction business, that's who he was hiring at the time, reportedly. Went missing. Police obtained a search warrant for his house. They found the class ring and clothing belonging to several young men previously reported missing. So now they start, hey, this is bad.
Yeah, we got something wrong.
Yeah,
here,
and in a 4-foot crawl space beneath the house where a penetrating odor was present.
Ugh.
They were shocked to find the decomposing bodies of 29 boys and teenagers that Gacy had raped and murdered.
Jesus,
Gacy's ex-wife complained about the odor for years, and Gacy had chalked it up to moisture-causing mildew. Law enforcement also came under criticism as family members of several victims, and I've heard of all these incidents, had previously pointed to Gacy as a possible suspect, and nobody ever investigated it.
Nobody looked into it.
Yeah,
huh?
and in addition to the bodies found at his house, Gacy admitted to killing several additional men, disposing of their bodies in a neighborhood lake.
Jesus.
Yeah. So.
And he just did it for so long and got away with it for such a long time.
And then he attempted to present insanity defenses in court and all that, and they failed every time.
Yeah.
So he was convicted on 33 counts of murder and executed.
Yeah, I remember when they executed him. What year was it?
1994.
Yeah, I remember when he died.
I was 2 years old.
I was in my early 20s.
Truck driver and still and all that.
I don't remember what I was. I remember when they killed him, man. I remember when they killed Bundy, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of those guys never see the death penalty.
No, they don't ever.
They die in prison.
Yeah, they just end up getting killed or something, or get old and
Manson.
die. Yeah.
Manson was sentenced to death, and he
Number
died,
5 here. This guy got killed in prison, if I'm not mistaken. Number 5, Jeffrey Dahmer.
Oh yeah.
Committed his first murder at the age of 18.
Yeah.
Dahmer committed his first murder in 1978 when he was 18 years old. He would go on killing until his arrest in 1991.
That's a great documentary on that one where they interview his neighbor, the lady, the big black lady.
Yeah, and she talks about
partied
with him and stuff and all that.
They smoked weed and drank beer and partied together and when she had no idea,
Yeah. So he after an African American man escaped his clutches and hailed down a police car near Milwaukee, Wisconsin. When the victim led police back to his captor's apartment, they discovered photographs of dismembered bodies, the severed heads and genitalia of several other men.
Yeah, a guy hanging in the shower.
And a tub full of acid that Dahmer had used to dispose some of his 17 victims.
Yeah, and I remember in that documentary that we watched, what got him caught was he was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And he would get drunk and pass out and stuff, and that's what happened with that guy, because a couple months prior to that, there was like a 16-year-old kid that got out of his grasp there, out of his lair, or whatever you want to call it, his apartment.
Yeah.
And the cops responded and sent him back, saying it was a gay lover quarrel.
Yeah.
The
don't
kid was
deal with
naked.
this. Yeah.
He was under 18, and that's another where they could have probably saved a couple lives had they reacted on that.
Absolutely.
But he targeted black gay men is who he went after, man.
So 3 years before his here's the deal. Dahmer had lived shiftless life, dropped out of college, army,
got kicked out of the army,
and all that. So living on the couches with different family members and stuff. Got kicked out by his grandmother and settled in a Milwaukee apartment on his own. 3 years before his 1991 arrest, and with several murders already under his belt, Dahmer was convicted of drugging and sexually molesting a young teenager. After only serving a year, he was released and continued his killing binge.
Oh yeah, it's a crazy story. Like I said, there's a great documentary out about him. I can't remember what it's called.
And it even says in here in the article that his killing binge focused almost entirely on young men of color.
Yeah, gay. Yeah. They were gay. He was trying to create a sex slave.
Yeah.
Because he would drill holes in their heads.
Give them a lobotomy or whatever.
And try to put, I think it was like Windex or something in there, some kind of acid in their head, trying to give them like a frontal lobotomy to where they would be zombie-like but still alive. He didn't like having sex with a corpse.
Yeah.
Contrary to popular belief, he wasn't really into necrophilism, and he wasn't that much into cannibalism. He tried it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people thought he was trying to
get rid of
the stuff.
Yeah.
When you kill 17 people, there's a big byproduct of it.
Totally. So
it's an insane story.
His trial was pretty crazy too in the media and all that, and he had to give descriptions of him eating the body parts of some of his victims and admissions of necrophilia. 92, Dahmer was sentenced to 957 years in jail.
I remember that.
And was killed by a fellow inmate 2 years later.
He was rotated after 2 years of being in what they call protective custody.
Yeah.
They usually put those kind of guys all in the same thing.
They got a target on him.
Yeah, and actually when Dahmer was killed, there was another lifer that was killed along with him too. I saw the interview with the guy that killed Dahmer.
Yeah.
And he says that the reason he did it is because Dahmer was antagonizing him. He was antagonizing him. They said he was, he would make fun of him
fuck with him.
When
and
they
all that.
put him rotated him into like general population, he didn't last but a couple days, man.
Yeah.
That
makes sense.
It was sad, actually, when his parents came on. His mom and dad were divorced, but they used to team up together when they would do interviews. And it was actually kind of sad when they get, because the mother was like, "Are you happy now? He's dead." And it's kind of like, a lot of people forget that these people are, they're human beings too. I'm not saying they should be forgiven or not. But there's families that, sometimes come attached with this.
Now, here's another man, number 6 here. And this guy, I know you heard his voice in the audio before we came back on, and he represented himself in court. This guy is actually pretty intelligent.
He was super smart.
And he was just kind of crazy, too.
He was insanely crazy.
Ted Bundy, the first televised murder trial ever. Handsome guy, well-educated, charming, all
Republican.
that. Yeah, crazy. Another note, write that down. Write that one down, too.
He worked for the Republican Party.
Write that one down, too,
I think he
guys.
had something to do with Nixon's campaign.
Oh, boy. It could have been anybody else in the presidencies.
This guy is amazing. I mean, as far as serial killers go, that's people look up to this dude.
Oh, it's crazy. So a decade-long multi-state killing spree. This is nuts. He was born to an unwed teenage mother. Bundy never learned his father's identity and raised believing that his grandmother was actually his mother. So his mother is actually his sister.
Yeah, he probably figured it out later on.
Yeah.
People do that, especially if you have a child very young. If a young lady has a child, I've heard of that happen before. I've seen it happen.
So following a difficult childhood and all that, he ended up graduating from the University of Washington, and then basically began a murder spree.
And one he did too, man. He was nuts.
So, killing his first victim in Seattle in 1966, he focused primarily on attractive college co-eds, which makes sense for this guy. Bundy committed a series of murders across the Pacific Northwest and continued on to Utah and Colorado, killing several more women before being arrested. Despite being convicted of kidnapping, he managed to escape police custody not once, but 2 times.
Oh, yeah.
While awaiting trial in Colorado, he moved to Florida where he killed several members of a sorority.
Yeah, and
one
night.
His final victim, a 12-year-old girl who he raped and murdered.
Yeah, they fried him in Florida, didn't they?
Yeah. So when Bundy was finally apprehended while driving a stolen car a week after his last murder, his trial quickly became a media sensation. So
I wonder why, yeah.
First murder trial to ever be televised. Future Bundy front and center acting as his own defense attorney. And he basically was one of the... I don't want to say one of the first ones to become a media star because Manson and all that was kind of glorified too, being all crazy on TV, and then Richard Ramirez and stuff like that.
Well, Bundy was before Ramirez.
Was he? Yeah. So that makes sense.
Yeah, a lot of people came after Bundy.
Yeah,
man.
but that makes sense, because Manson had to be right around the same time doing on TV and stuff.
Manson was in the early 60s.
Yeah.
And you know what? Manson had a big period. After he was, after they televised some of the trial for Manson, not actual courtroom proceedings, but like all the idiots that were outside chanting
talking
and
the
family.
Yeah.
And then Manson, like when I was a kid, he was a scary dude. I remember back in like 1973 or 4, he had been in prison already a few years.
Yeah.
And then they didn't really do anything with him until he was in there for 5 or 6 years. When I think it was Tom Snyder actually interviewed him. Yeah. And then people start getting his popularity peaked more in the 80s.
Yeah,
people start. But with Bundy, I've always been amazed that he escaped. And the second time he escaped, he killed like 7 women in one night at a sorority.
Yep,
a bunch of nurses.
And then
just crazy.
He welcomed journalists to his cell. He would do all that kind of stuff, receiving letters of admiration from fans. Even marrying one of them. He married a fan.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, and then providing an endless list of clues about additional murders he may have committed.
And he never fessed up to him either.
Yep.
And it's even. Let me ask you this.
And he did that in hopes of delaying his execution.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So,
they always do.
He was executed in the electric chair in 1989, with the true number of his victims unknown.
That had to have been in '89. That had to have been Bush. Jeb Bush was probably governor of Florida then.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this: do you think it's wise or morally right to broadcast those murder trials on TV?
It depends on what you mean, like as far as, just the trial itself, or...
Well, the murder trials, like they did the OJ one, was broadcast on TV, Jodi Arias.
Not really, because I believe everyone's entitled to a fair trial and due process, so I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't know.
I think it's kind of bullshit that if someone gets cleared of a crime, that they have to live with that for the rest of their life, that stigma. It depends, I grew up in Vegas and lived in Vegas for almost 30 years, and OJ moved there, and when Vegas finally busted him and put him in fucking jail when Nevada did, and he got out, he was treated like a rock star, and he still is to this day. And we know let's be fucking honest here. Without, I get it. He was cleared into court, and I understand that, and I agree in that aspect of what I just said. It's bullshit that he has to live with that stigma, but there's also a lot of glaring facts that he probably did kill them.
I think if that guy could live anywhere, Vegas would be the place for it to be. Because I remember they were following him around before he was accused or indicted or found guilty of stealing his own shit. Which I had some problems with that case too.
Exactly. Yeah. But he's the only one that didn't have a gun.
Well, he's the only one that did really any prison time, and he was stealing his own stuff. But hey, whatever,
Regardless, yeah.
But from the first one that you go to, I seen where these news crews were following him around some golf course one time, and everybody was yelling at him like murderer, killer.
Yeah,
and,
that's what I mean. Yeah,
and I just think if you watch that
with
what's called the OJ one they did on the sports
series,
channel.
The actual series. Yeah,
they have. If that's another good one, if you can watch it, it has a lot of audio and video that people have never seen before. It's crazy.
But moving
he's
right
not a
along.
serial killer though.
No, but moving right along. Number 7 here. We're coming up on our last two.
Okay.
Number 7, Jack the Ripper.
Ooh.
There are over 100 possible suspects alone for this one. So,
man, I'll tell you, mystique.
Yeah, in 1888, London's Whitechapel district was gripped by the vicious serial killer stalking the night streets. So they'd never identified him. Lured prostitutes into darkened squares and side streets before slitting their throats and mutilating their bodies with a carving knife.
Make a mess out of you.
So that summer and fall, 5 victims were found butchered in the downtrodden East End district. And this is like probably one of the first. I bet this is an early example of a media frenzy.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm sure they had them before. I mean, I'm sure there were spree killers and killers. Before
murderers and stuff.
Start classifying them as serial killers. But you know what? I saw a documentary that Patricia Cornwell did where she actually she claims that she solved the Jack the Ripper case.
A lot of people claim they do, but we'll get into that here in a second. A number of letters were also allegedly sent by the killer to the London Metro Police Department, the service at the time, also known as Scotland Yard, taunting officers about his gruesome activities and, speculating that he was going to kill some more people. Without all the modern stuff, Victorian police were basically screwed in investigating anything.
They didn't have the forensics. And don't you I always get a kick, not in a funny way, but it is, I don't know, bemusing, entertaining how some of these serial killers will actually taunt the press or the authorities.
Remember when BTK would call into the news station that he was watching? They knew he was watching it at home, and he would call into it.
He got away. Dennis Radar, man.
He was a normal family guy and all that. Yeah.
The guy in San Francisco.
Yeah, they do it.
Zodiac, man.
With Jack the Ripper, the case was finally closed in 1892, and the final victim had taken place in November, and the killer had just seemed to just disappear.
You know what? They never know with these guys. They go dormant. He may have left the country. He may have died. He may have went to prison for something else. They don't. That's a lot of those guys. I mean, there's at any given time. I think the FBI says there's probably 200 or 300 serial killers roaming the country.
Now we're going to add a bonus one in here before we get to our official last one. I know you heard his audio in our little serial killer intro earlier, but Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker.
Dick.
Yeah. The Night Stalker. And the reason why we're going to delve into him for a few minutes is because Lee grew up in that time, and actually the Night Stalker hit pretty close to your area.
Actually, we were friends. Me and Richard, we hung out.
You look like one of your buddies,
Yeah, I kind of look like Richard Ramirez when I was a kid.
Yeah, so, but
he actually killed a guy or couple in Whittier. Yeah.
Yep. So
he was. I remember when that was going on because when it was happening, there was a massive heat wave going through California at that time. And most of that, where I lived anyways, they didn't have air conditioning.
They're old 1950s homes.
Yeah,
and
then
stuff.
my parents never locked the door because somebody might need to get in. You know?
Someone's going to come home late or something.
But that was the deal, man. He was murdering people left and right
That's
up there.
crazy.
Man. Just
and that's how he got into people's houses. They'd leave their slider open or something, you know.
Yeah, he would just...
Different time, too, man. People, it was different.
But he had the shit kicked out of him. And like it was like Boyle Heights or
picked
something
the
like
wrong
that.
fucking neighborhood, East LA neighborhood that they physically beat him down.
If I remember correctly, what happened was he was
Good
out
on them.
He was out of town because he killed some people up in San Francisco.
He came to Arizona too.
Tucson, I think it was. Down there in Tucson.
Yeah, right. And he came back and saw his face in the magazine.
They had figured out who he was.
They had a DNA,
Yeah, and I think they even had a name.
Yeah.
And they put it out, and he got off the bus or whatever. He was able to get out of the bus station unnoticed, but once he got into the streets of, like I said,
people
South
started
Central,
noticing him.
I think he tried to steal a car or something.
Yeah.
Someone kicked the shit. I mean, they kicked the shit out of him.
They
man.
beat him
Rightfully,
down.
They should have killed him. Man.
Oh yeah.
You know?
He's lucky they did in that neighborhood because it was like a bunch of bad dudes.
You know what? His trial, as I still lived in L.A. when that happened.
Yeah.
It was it was a pretty popularized
thing.
You know,
yeah,
it was
he was
media,
getting chicks hitting him up, sending him photos, and all kinds of
he would
crazy
write
stuff.
pentagrams on his hands and
do
stuff.
all kinds of weird shit.
He was,
the Disneyland line.
You know what? I guess if you're in that much trouble, why not have some fun with it? Man?
You're gonna go. yeah,
you're in trouble anyways.
One thing I've noticed with a lot of these serial killers, and it's something that's really weird. Like if you watch their interviews, especially with Richard Ramirez, they have black eyes.
Oh yeah,
it's like pure dark evil.
Into their soul.
It's really weird. Yeah, and I firmly believe there's something to that. Like
there's a lot of psychologists come up in healthcare or mental professionals.
Yeah,
they say that with terrorists, serial killers, these spree killers, that the last thing you should ever do with them is show their faces on TV and give them credit to their name.
Give them anything.
But we're such a bloodthirsty group of people in this country
anymore.
And they got a guy that walks into a movie theater and kills 20 people or whatever, and they say, well, what was his motives? It's like he was fucking crazy.
Yeah,
let's just run his head over with a truck and let's just get it over with here.
Moving on to our last person here. And this is a very popular one, and there's been all kinds of stuff written about this man, and it's a very, very interesting story. H.H. Holmes, a pharmacist who built the murder castle.
Oh, yeah, crazy.
So an American pharmacist and convicted serial killer, Herman Webster Mudgett, better known as his alias H.H. Holmes, spent his early career as an insurance scammer before moving to Illinois in advance of the 1893 Chicago World's Fair to work as a pharmacist. It was there that Holmes built what he referred to as his murder castle.
It's creepy.
A 3-story inn that he secretly turned into a macabre torture chamber. Some rooms were equipped with a hidden peephole, gas lines, trap doors, soundproof padding, while others featured secret passages, ladders, and hallways that led to dead ends. This is like horrifying.
This is not stuff nightmares are made out of.
A grease chute that led to the basement where Holmes installed a surgical table, a furnace, and a medieval rack. Yeah, this guy was nuts.
We were talking earlier about Rob Zombie.
Yeah.
If you watch, I think it's the first movie, The House of a Thousand Corpses, where they go to the chicken stand, what's his name, Captain Spaulding?
Yeah.
Because, all his people have Groucho Marx names,
Yeah.
They show kind of like Dr. Death on the ride that they take. I think that's who they're talking about. H.H. Holmes,
Yeah, that would make sense.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's crazy. Before and during the World's Fair, he would lead victims, mostly young women, to his lair only to asphyxiate them with poison gas and take them to his basement for horrific experiments. He then either disposed of the bodies in the furnace or skinned them and sold the skeletons to medical schools.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Yeah, at the same time, Holmes worked insurance scams collecting money from life insurance companies. Holmes was finally caught when one of his co-conspirators tipped off the police after he failed to deliver his payout. Holmes was eventually convicted of the murders of 4 people, but confessed to at least 27 more killings before being hanged in 1896.
Yeah, that's what they did. They probably did it in public.
Pretty crazy, man.
Oh yeah, how do you justify that, man?
Well, it's one of those things, man. There's without a doubt there will always be crazy people.
It makes you wonder, like, how far back in time you could go, like, say back to like cavemen. Was there one caveman guy that wandered
going around killing all of them?
Yeah, he was kind of like, oh, stay away from that guy.
Yeah, like. And like you said, stuff wasn't diagnosed like it is now and all that.
No,
and they really are just crazy. At the end of the day,
well, there's a lot of different theories of why, some call it upbringing. There's a chromosome that people have come out and said that these serial killers all possess this same chromosome. Some people claim serial killers aren't born; they're made.
Yeah, totally. I can see that.
There's catches in. It's one thing that all runs in common with them is they all have like a disturbing childhood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They all have like daddy made me wear dresses and mama
absolutely.
beat me or made me sleep with her or something like that, and it all materializes out and later and there's some kind of a warped fantasy that they try to portray. And it's just, there's so much fascinating. That's why I've always kind of found it fascinating is how your mind can be changed like that into something that
be actually manufactured.
I don't think there's any rehabilitation for it.
I don't think so either. Once it's done, it's done.
Yeah, and like I said a big part of these guys is to hit the ranks or the ranks of infamy. You've got to be caught.
Oh yeah.
Think about how many people, because they have a whole group of people out there now that they think are a bunch of over-the-road truck drivers
working as a team.
That work is that they're what they call thrill killers.
Yeah.
And they're out there doing this, and they probably never catch these guys. And they can, if they're hauling a truck, they can grab a guy or a person in St. Louis and drop them off and
wherever,
they're going, and it's impossible to trace. People are just like, especially people that are noticeably
homeless.
You get your prostitutes, you get your indigents, you got your homeless.
It happens,
and unfortunately in our society we don't pay a lot of attention to these people. Like we see that same guy every day. Or every time we go to the grocery store, we kind of look at him and go, but that guy, if he vanished tomorrow, it would probably take you 3 months to realize you didn't even see him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
It would be like,
totally
I
true.
didn't know, But anyways, that's a good subject you have there.
Yeah, it was a kind of a darker one. We kind of brought the mood down a little bit.
Well, we wanted you to think on this one a little bit.
Yeah, stay safe out there, Be alert, be vigilant.
You got to be.
All the time.
Yeah,
everyone should be.
You never really think about that in life,
Yeah, that could happen.
A lot of other things you think about, but
it could happen.
Like it's like being at a sporting event or something.
Oh,
this if somebody wanted to do some terror here,
they could really do some damage.
Yeah. But
you got anything? Final thoughts you want to add?
I just want to wish a happy Father's Day to everybody out there, and I hope you enjoyed the subject. And if we didn't delve too far into it, so to try to sing like we know everything.
Oh yeah, and there's so much of it.
And if you got any comments about it, let us know.
Absolutely, and then go out. Find us on social media, follow the show on all podcast platforms and YouTube, all that good stuff. Check out our online store at intheround.az at bigcartel.com, something like that. I don't know. Look it up. It's on the website. You'll find it. Anyways, guys, we're going to get out of here and have a great Father's Day weekend, everyone.
Thank you.
We'll see you. Take care. Good night.